It's been a hot minute since I last uploaded, huh? Sorry this took so long. I had a lot of things getting in the way. Of course, doing a couple of digitizations here and there, and, well, putting off this project for a while, but now I can fully flesh it out. But yeah, no more excuses. Let's get this video done. Well, it's finally come to this. I've yet to cover issues regarding the preservation of Yugoslavian war music. As a matter of fact, I was actually going to just be talking about another lost media piece. But in spite of recent events, I felt like this was a higher priority. Now, you might be familiar with this song, Tata, right? My Father is a War Criminal. It is now one of the most overused war songs in memes right now. You also might be familiar with this version of Tata. His channel, while relatively small in the uploads department, has garnered a huge subscriber base and an impressive view count. What you may not know is his shady history regarding offsite behavior, a history that his own followers grossly misinterpret. Sit back, relax, and have your ad block ready, because today we'll be talking about national radio. Now, national radio, as in the YouTube channel, is a channel that reposts a bunch of war songs, which also, coincidentally, includes songs from the Yugoslav wars. How he gets these songs is pretty simple. He just finds these songs on the internet one way or another, and then does YouTube to MP3 and puts it on his channel. Which is fine. No honor among thieves, I suppose. And hey, I mean, his channel isn't monetized, which is great. So everything should be good, right? Enter Spotify. Spotify, a place I don't touch, but I know friends and family use it on a daily basis. It's one of those streaming services that sucks money out of your wallet if you want to listen to music. Anti-DRM ranting aside, many people use it. You can also post your own mixtape to a fresh audience despite the controversially stingy payments. What does this have to do with national radio? Well, he made a Spotify complete with a vast music catalog that isn't his. Now, I understand that Spotify is a brand new platform that is very, very popular with my own generation. Let's make something very clear. Spotify is not a platform where exposure comes first. As a matter of fact, it constantly advertises its premium service for an ad-free experience. They even upcharge if you want to listen to a supposed lossless version of the song that you love so dearly. As a matter of fact, if he really cared about exposure over profit, he would go to SoundCloud, a place where really they don't advertise any monetization services, it's free to use, there's no premium subscription, and really it is used as a platform to showcase music. And it really makes you think that SoundCloud isn't a go-to place to upload all of these songs. Hi, editing random attribute here. This won't be the first or last time I actually come in and edit a few things. Now, the reason why I was pushing for SoundCloud was because it was a platform that was really about exposure first, and the algorithm itself was really good, where it would actually cater your own recommendations based off of what you've listened to. Unfortunately, in recent years, they have tweaked the algorithm, so the recommendation system is basically useless, as well as advertising their premium service to the nth degree. Now, this creates a conflict of interest that I do not like, and as a result, I am taking back this statement. Unfortunately, the best exposure over profit platform for now seems to be YouTube and the alternate sites that exist out there, but otherwise, there's not a lot of room for a good exposure over profit service, if you get what I mean. As a matter of fact, coincidentally, Apple Music was, for a time, advertised as a go-to place for up-and-coming artists. Why? Because they paid more than Spotify. Really makes you think, huh? This isn't his first time making an account either. When I first encountered his account, it was what I believe was the second account he made due to Spotify removing the catalog for a variety of reasons. I'm sure this was mainly due to hate speech and copyright infringements, though looking at the screen cap, I think it was more of the latter. And by the way, this guy also violates the platform rules. Now, because his fans are young and naive and synonyms of not that smart, let me showcase the rules that he is breaking. Spotify user guideline number 2, 3, and 11, as well as number 8. Spotify platform rules, specifically inciting or threatening serious physical harm or acts of violence against a specific target or specific group. Glorifying or praising violent extremist groups or their members. Coordinating, promoting, threatening, or praising an act of violence by or on behalf of violent extremist groups or their members. Dehumanizing statements about a person or group based on the protected characteristics listed above. Promoting or glorifying hate groups and their associated images and or symbols. Posing as another person, brand, or organization in a misleading manner. Content that is intended to promote or commit an illegal act of any kind. Content provided to Spotify without obtaining necessary permissions. Content that infringes third-party copyrights or trademarks. Unfortunately, I no longer have the screenshot, but he talked about making $500 and donating it to some Ukrainian charity. That's nice, but you're still making money off of stuff that isn't yours. It's funny how this $500 Ukraine donation has never had any real proof attached to it. As a matter of fact, it's probably the only time where he discloses where the money went. It was eventually deleted, probably because it looked bad in the long run. The grift doesn't stop there, however. He has a nasty habit of splitting albums and merging random MP3s he finds on YouTube and posting them on Spotify. Most of them are either already copyrighted material, public domain, owned by people who aren't online, who can't internet, or worst of all, dead, unable to protect their work. Look at this catalog, it's ridiculous. On top of that, just recently, he announced that he's planning to make more accounts with split up material to circumvent the copyright system and, let's face it, maximize those profits. Banning won't deter him either. Prior to my encounter with National Radio, one of his Spotify accounts was deleted. His response? Proposed to go to Apple Music. You know, a place that usually only has artists with verified works they release and own. Then again, Apple Music does pay more than Spotify. Also, he proposed to going to Deezer, which is something that I'm not familiar with, but it seems like it's a poor man's Spotify, and you could also make money off of it as well. Anything so that the money keeps coming in. Now I hear you. Random attribute, isn't this a little hypocritical? You do have a Ko-Fi account for the channel. And yes, I did make one, but I only advertise it on content I actually make. That's why you don't see a link in the comment section or description of any digi I've done. It's just immoral. I don't even beg anyone to donate anyways. It's just there, existing in a commentary video or anything that falls under fair use. Now, don't get me wrong, ads still do play in my videos, but if you look into the source code, you can see that I'm not monetized. Listen, I'm not the moral police. I'm not some sort of heckin' wholesome content creator that's free of sin. I'm not this hall monitor who can do no wrong. Yes, I do play hall monitor sometimes, and honestly, I'm not very good at it. If anything, I do sometimes embarrass myself by either being vindictive, overtly hostile, or intentionally or unintentionally sounding smug in some of the comments, but I hope you hear me out. With that said, where's the money, National Radio? Show us just how much you've made. Just without the humble bragging. It certainly doesn't help that people who see the wrong in this lucrative market are few and far between. When the humble brag about $500 to Ukrainian aid was put in the community tab, I can tell you that most of these people celebrated instead of questioning the ethics of this. Even better, after every announcement where he complains about Spotify taking down his content, many comments are blaming the sanitized landscape of the internet. Hey guys, maybe stealing copyrighted content and monetizing it isn't such a great practice after all? Just a thought. And one more thing too. Now I understand, Spotify does have some pros. You're introducing this kind of music to a new audience. The thing is, even though Spotify is a big platform, Spotify should not be used to introduce people to this kind of music. And seriously guys, stop relying on Spotify. Do you really need to consume that much? Spotify is a place of false convenience, where you have to go there, or else you won't be able to listen to music. And there are so many offline alternatives out there that are way more convenient. Are we just being cradled in a sense of false convenience, where you have to rely on a streaming service that begs you to pay for their premium services just to get rid of the ads? Are you seriously paying for services when you can do the same thing and listen to the same songs for free and in a, well, morally gray area, in a legally questionable area according to the US law? It's a lot more convenient instead of relying on corporations to feed you stuff. Come on, guys. Alright, here's a little bit of an edit. While scripting, I came across this comment. Change your plans because that money is no longer going to charity. Now he's allocating money he's made from people suffering to pay for bills and schooling? Bro, McDonald's is an easy job and they're always hiring. Flipping a patty is not that hard. Now, National Radio is infamous for stealing songs with a disregard to the status of their rights. He'll upload songs with incorrect names and won't credit the artists. The obvious reason is that if he credits the artist, he'll get taken down, which is not because the artist is going to seek him. As said before, it's a violation of Spotify's terms of service. Another issue is the content of these songs. I know, I'm a Californian. It's kind of an obvious thing. And listen, I'm not the moral police, and I'm okay with whatever you go for, but just know where you're posting and when it's actually appropriate to post said things. However, check out this example. This album. You really wouldn't want this on a platform like Spotify because it's associated with Imperial Japan. Not to mention that Ryoi no Uta and Kamikaze Special Forces are songs that are copyrighted by King Records. If you're like me, who has some sort of interest in anime, you may recognize King Records as the same people who have published albums from Evangelion. This is actually one of their most recent releases I have from them, and I believe it is from 2020. But I mean, King Records is still publishing albums today, which also means they're probably on the hunt for whoever's violating their copyright. If you don't know, the Japanese are notoriously strict on their copyright, so much so that recently they got in trouble for overstepping the DMCA laws here in America to take down one specific channel on YouTube. It's kind of scary. The rest of the songs, despite not appearing in the Content ID system on YouTube, are probably from a company that is still active today. They just don't know Content ID or probably forgot that the album existed in the first place. I know it is certainly not public domain just yet. Now, remember when I listed the rules that National Radio broke? Well, that wasn't just for show. As a matter of fact, this is the perfect segment to highlight which songs violate Spotify's TOS. So I've sifted through some of his catalog and took note of what songs there were and their supposed contents. I do wanna, do I even have to say it? I'm 100% serious. Because of how political things are going to get in this video, I'm going to put a trigger warning here, whatever it says here. I know it sounds like a joke, but I'm 100% serious because I know the things I'm gonna say in my mouth are going to start a flame war. And I'm going to put a disclaimer here. Essentially, these events and what is right, what is wrong does not matter. We're just talking about what Spotify would perceive of these songs. So with that said, no more dilly-dallying. Let's go look into these. Now, what I'm about to share is mostly available via archive.vn. Don't worry if you don't catch the links. I'll actually be putting them in the description so you can see it for yourself. So let's start off this segment with the aforementioned Japanese war song album. Now, do keep in mind that yes, I am Japanese American, but unfortunately, I'm not very familiar with the language. Like, I know basic Japanese, I know how to read hiragana and katakana, but when it comes to kanji and other complex concepts, yeah, I'm kind of lost. So I'll be going by these English names, or if I see any katakana, I'll just kind of note it, or put like a text hard subtitle on here just to show you guys what the actual song name is called. These are the list of Japanese songs that national radio has posted that may be deemed problematic to Spotify's rules and regulations. First off, this one is Trio. Now, despite its historical context that I myself am somewhat aware of, it praises the angry German man and his Italian cohort, and the phrase double H is also in the lyrics. Now, Batotai, while ultimately harmless, it's the association of the song where it can land in hot water. Doki no Sakura is a song that is associated with pilots who sacrifice themselves, we'll just say. This next song, I think it's supposed to say like Warsaw, because it reads Waru Shawa, and something about a song. Now, this song in particular has the lyrics as covered in sacred blood, which could be interpreted as glorification of violence. Song of the Young Eagles and Song of the Greater East Asian War Navy glorify Japan, specifically with their occupation of East Asia. Now, I feel like Young Eagles is a lot more problematic than Great East Asia War Navy, mostly because it kind of portrays those who are fighting back, like China, as doing something wrong, as well as not so much glorification. I would argue it's more of like a reference to the concept of the Yamato race, specifically in the translated lyrics, the unmatched Yamato spirit. The song, titled Japanese Southern Expeditionary Song, glorifies Imperial Japan, basically saying, if you're not loyal, you're gonna die first in battle. And it also does have references to the concept of the Yamato race. The last song that I have for the list of possible problematic songs in the Japanese music department that national radio has uploaded is Ode to Showa Restoration, which is quite self-explanatory. Now, that's all I have written down for the Japanese songs, so why don't we move on to the Russian songs? Now, first off, I've written down here in this list, Arise Donbass. Now, considering the current world situation with Ukraine, this is automatically a no-no. If you need a more specific reason, this is encouraging destabilization of the country and establishing an autonomous region that is hostile with its own people. The song Summer and Crossbows is a song about the Wagner Group, a private military group noted as a terrorist group in the country of Estonia. Wikipedia has also stated that they are linked to double N's and RW's, and have gone on record to commit several war crimes. Now, with all of these Russian songs that I have found, of course, there can be more, but for now, we'll move on to our next section. Before we move on, I do want to apologize in advance. I'm going to be absolutely butchering these names, and I do apologize in advance. But I digress. These are the songs that are from the Middle East that could be considered problematic. First is Glory to the Arab World. Do I really have to explain that? Akbil Ya Mujahid, which the song itself is glorifying the act of jihad. Let's see here, what's this next one? Ummah of Islam. Now, I was looking up this song. The closest I actually got was Dalawat al-Islam Kamat, which is from what I've read, an unofficial national anthem of the Islamic State. Now, if you don't know what the Islamic State is, it's what we know in the West as ISIL and ISIS, which, as far as we know, is a terrorist organization. It is also used by Boko Haram, which is another jihadist group. There's a song on one of the albums that he uploaded. It's called We Redeem You, Saddam. And from what I can guess, it's about Saddam Hussein. Now, Saddam Hussein, as far as I know, was a dictator. He destabilized Iran and committed various human rights abuses. Now, this next song, Anthem of the Ba'ath Party, is about the Ba'ath Party, which was Hussein's political party, and seemingly ruled with an iron fist. Speaking of dictators, this last song in my list is known as God, Syria, and Bashar. I actually know this song, and it is probably one of the more popular war songs out there. Now, when doing my 5-minute research, Wikipedia has told me that Bashar is a dictator and is currently leading Syria. He is also responsible for chemical attacks on his own civilians that I believe led to our president drone striking the country? Something like that. So we already have a chunk of problematic content, at least in a US context. Let's see if there's... Oh boy. Oh, I forgot about this. Lastly, let's talk about the problematic songs, specifically in the Palestinian song album. Now, I'm actually surprised that the album was up for as long as it was, because these names, wow, just not great. Let's go through this list, shall we? Let's see, let's go with the most harmless name first. Abdul Rahman Al-Koryoti, I think is how you pronounce it. Again, I'm so sorry for butchering these names. I'm not very familiar with your language, but this one is actually unsearchable. It might have been an intentional mislabeling of the song, so Spotify didn't say, hey, that's a blacklisted word, you can't upload that song, or something. I'm actually not too sure. This next song is We Are the Army of God, which is self-explanatory. Another song is titled Al-Qassam's Brigades, which glorifies a group that is known as a specially designated global terrorist. This next title, 500 IQ Naming. Oh Hamas, teach me how to use a gun. Hamas is a known terrorist organization that is anti-Zionist and most famously anti-Semitic. This song encourages to commit acts of terror. 500 IQ move, buddy. Keep the terrorist organization in the name. How about we get to the more spicier titles? Shake Israel's Security. I don't need to explain that one. Zionist, you will Gaza. I don't need to explain that. Oh, and how about this one? Zionist, you are about to be a car. Are people seriously asking why this guy keeps getting taken down? Now, the problem is that uploading these kind of songs will be extrapolated to anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism, especially in the US, is a no-no. You cannot do something like this and expect to get away with it. And you know what? In a way, I'm actually kind of glad that Spotify struck him down hard. And that closes off the problematic songs. Now, as a good transition to talking about Yugoslav war content that he's stolen, let me list out a couple of Serbian songs and their contents. because, I mean, I'm a Serbian war song channel. Why not? It's my area of interest. So, the problematic songs that he has uploaded. Let's see here. Armija Srpska. Again, we'll be talking about these artists in just a second. But content-wise, the supposed translation has the lyrics, "We'll get our revenge," and "We'll crush you." The song Tera Miloš Toku Preko Save tells of a Miloš who will the heads of Muslims and chase them over the Sava River. And it also has the lyrics Turks, Pope, and the Croats. I don't know about that one. And as far as I'm concerned, this is as far as I'll go. Now I hear ya. You're gonna tell me that I'm missing out a song that has a problematic context. Well, I know. But that song in particular, I don't want to reference, because people change over time. And this person, I respect their wishes, therefore, I won't talk about it in this segment, but I'll touch upon it just a little bit when I talk about the artists that were taken advantage of. But for now, on this segment on community violations, I'll have to close the book on this one.
Yugoslav war content. Kind of inevitable considering what national radio uploads. I'd like to thank both Bikria and Removalist 1995 for this. Seriously, I didn't know how rotten this rabbit hole was. First, let's talk about what I'm more at home with. Serb war music. Also known here in not Balkans land as Turbofolk. Now, if you saw my Lost Media video on Penanats, you know that he stole Tera Miloš Toku Preko Save and uploaded it to Spotify on one of his old accounts. I think it was a contributing factor to how he lost that account. On one of his current accounts, he uploaded another Pananet song, that being Bogie uz nas kokarde na glave. Now, he renamed it under the name what it's most known for, which is Cockades, and it kind of works out because, you know, it doesn't have the full name and it's not really a dead ringer. He has also uploaded a song called Vukovica Vučiaka, which I think refers to the Pirgo song. There's also an artist under the same name, so maybe it's that one. I do have to have a disclaimer here saying I do not have a Spotify account and I don't really want to add money to this guy's account. Hi, editing random attribute here. If you've noticed, I actually came across National Radio's old catalog before Spotify removed it all, or at least gutted most of it. And to my horror, I found Vratice Novak on a Serbian war songs album. If you don't know, there are two different stories about how Vratice Novak was made. I've heard it was a response as to when Novak was captured by enemy forces. I'd like to think that Novak himself was just drafted to war and his family was just worried because they didn't want to lose a son. Oh, I forgot to say, Novak is a real person. His name is Novak Pajchin, and he is the brother of Bayamali Kaninja. He is actually not just any kind of brother, he's the younger brother. And I'm sure Bayo was worried sick about the guy, and his cousin too, but that's for another video. Anywho, short end of the stick is, now I know there's some irony with a guy who is making money off of a guy who is making money off of the war, but regardless of how you feel about Bayamali Kaninja, I feel like it's gross that this guy was making money out of a song to cheer his own family up. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say here. I'll come back in just a couple seconds. Roll the tape! So this is just some guesswork. However, this isn't the worst offender. There's an artist that you probably won't see me cover on this channel anytime soon. This isn't because of copyright reasons, but because I respect them and their wishes, as said before. The songs Hvala ti Arkane and Iznad Brčko are songs that are published by Radio DAS, and they're infamously hard to come by. This isn't for any arbitrary reason. This is because this entity of some sorts wanted to, well, move away from the war stuff. He was deeply ashamed. Throw that out of the window because, well, we got money to make. As far as I know, Iznad Brčko was translated to above Brčko because, well, God forbid we get caught disrespecting someone's wishes to move on from the tragedies of war. Unfortunately, I don't know any of these song names, and of course I can't find them because the old accounts have since been removed by Spotify. But other notable Serbian artists are Keraber, Perica Ivanovic, Borivoj Anjelic, and Orlovi Grmecha. Now, I do apologize for this lightning round. I'm not too familiar with Croatian war songs. Nothing against them. I do want to point out that if I do see numbers, I'm just gonna say them in English. Again, I don't want this to be interpreted as a way of saying I don't like these sides. It's just I'm not very familiar with the number system in Serbo-Croatian, so please bear with me here. Now, the Croatian singers that he has taken money from are as follows. Rale, 110 HVO Usora. Utso? 101 Bojna. Vlatko Grijel. Juka Čajić, Noćna smjena, and HOS. Now, if you thought stealing from Serbians and Croatians were bad, you haven't seen the Bosnian category. Now, as far as I know, National Radio is kind of a huge fan of Bosnia, at least when it comes to the Yugoslav wars and its music. Unfortunately, this also leads to him stealing a lot of music that I assume is about suffrage of the people of Bosnia in the Yugoslav wars, which is very deplorable. Again, this is going to be a lightning round. So let's get on with it. So the army of Bosnia and Herzegovina, this is their singers as follows. Ibro Selmanovic, Okush Međa, Muhamed Brkić, all of Studio Bihać, Olovni Vojnici, Naziv Gliva, Gazijama, 204th Teslić, Mustafa Šantić, Senad Hasić, Zelene Beretke, Grupa Zelena Beretke, Zamaj od Bosne, Mat Pantari, Jasmin Kulinović, Rondo i Dragana, Bahtiar Bruglić, Avdi Pasha, Alcho, Dona Ares, who died of cancer recently, Samira Mesanović, Ihad Begić, Avdaga Vrabac, Rizo Hamidovic, Macbeth, multiple brigades and corps, Grupa Hazma, as well as multiple Ilakia singers. Now, if you just heard in the Serbian segment, I just came across the old catalog of National Radio. He made not one, not two, but 6 Bosnian war music albums. That's crazy! And not 1 cent went to some charitable need that the country needs because they're still picking up the pieces 30 years later? Damn, bro, like, these people are still rebuilding. And yet, despite his love for Bosnia, apparently he loves Ukraine more because he gave $500 to them and no money to any place that's still recovering after the war 30 years later in Bosnia. This is why, on his current documentary project, people should not support him. Do not give him your time. Do not give him anything until he does something for the greater good of the Bosnian people that he supposedly oh so loves so much. Let's talk about the APZB songs that he stole. It's noted that the only people here is just Zumret Brkić and Said Shuvic Shuva. Now, you've already heard this story before. They can't protect their work. What makes this even worse, though, is that APZB, if you don't know, is you know what? I'm just gonna steal from Balkan Mapper in the same way that National Radio did. The Bihać Pocket and Zapatna Bosna were small areas whose people were deeply divided, and her inhabitants were shot out their relatives and old friends. After Kladusha fell, the region was thoroughly looted and people exiled, most of whom haven't returned. To this day, the region's recovery is being disrupted by the federal government. I've reached out to Balkan Mapper and Heraclius. They're the people responsible for the APZB CD uploads. They don't mind that the song is stolen. I mean, it's kind of inevitable in this community. They both agree that what National Radio is doing, which is making money off of it, is very immoral. I do want to add that Heraclius has stated that, on one hand, it's good for exposure for the subject of APZB. It has said that it's okay for him to make the money as long as he's just making, like, minuscule amount, but on the other hand, it's still very immoral what he did. The problem with the APZB songs in general is that most of the singers are relatively unknown, especially to the greater public, and they don't have any proper rights holders, which makes it a perfect opportunity to make some free money. I mean, they can't all fight back if they're all dead, right? While there isn't any concrete proof, it's theorized that he has illegally copyrighted some of these songs, one of them being a APZB version of Panteri, but for now, this is just a rumor. There's no solid evidence for it. I'm really appalled because for a guy who really loves Bosnia, he doesn't want to fork over a single cent to the people who had suffered and made these songs to cope with their suffering in wartime. So please stop requesting songs for him to post on Spotify. Those artists need your money, not a blatant thief who's grifting off of tragedy. If you have a smart device of any sort, you guys have a dedicated music app. You can just download MP3s from the internet and make your own custom playlists. You don't need to rely on some shady service just to do the work for you. But please, National Radio, tell us how the establishment is making bullshit excuses to prevent you from making your moolah. To cap off this segment, I do want to say that National Radio himself actually had an Instagram account. What its contents were, unfortunately, I'm not too sure. I think he made an Instagram story humble bragging about the $500 Ukrainian aid donation, but that's as far as I know. Why am I mentioning his Instagram? Well, an archivist in our community, as you may know, Removalist 1995, wasn't going to stand for this grifting behavior, so he went up to him and kindly said, "What you're doing is immoral. You should probably stop doing this kind of stuff." What was National Radio's response? It wasn't an "I'm sorry" or "I'm gonna make it up to the people who I stole from" or anything of the sort. No. This guy just deletes his Instagram account. Wow. This guy gets the reward of definitely not looking guilty in the slightest. Congratulations, man. I hope you wear that medal loud and proud. Special thanks to Syntax77 for his transparency and intel. Initially, I was going to go straight to copyright and stuff, but this was brought to my attention. Many people like this guy, and these videos take little to no effort to make. Just YouTube to MP3 some random digi you find online and put an image with it. You can also use basic Photoshop and add in some random picture that has to do with the subject matter. And if you want to go the extra mile, you could also use a vectorizing program to vectorize said objects for that true National Radio content farm feel. While these are lazy at best, they aren't making money off of this, so immoral? Yes. Illegal? No. Before you try to confront them, I'd advise against interacting with these people. I'm guessing that most of these clones were barely a twinkle in their father's eye when I started hardcore snowman making in Starfall. So a cordial chat about their content creation is next to impossible. Though to call these people National Radio clones is like a cloneception, since National Radio himself is a clone of Commie-Ball, thumbnails and all. And as much as I hate commies and tankies alike, at least Commie-Ball isn't making money off of tragedy. Actually, since he probably is a commie and National Radio is using the power of capitalism, I want to see some internet blood sports with these guys. In all seriousness, while National Radio's clones are ultimately harmless, the legacy National Radio will have will lead to some unfortunate consequences. The standard National Radio has put is nothing short of degenerate. He's not archiving anything, and neither is his army of clones. If he really did copyright some of the APZB songs, he probably won't stop there. If an unassuming fan sends a song request his way, and if it's popular enough with no rights holders, he could strike again. The fact that he's only 16 or 17 years old only makes this ordeal worse. He's not working a real job, he's making money off of things that aren't his. This dishonest behavior could also target war music archivists in our community, like preservation of Yugoslav war music, Balkan Mapper, Nasza Srpska Archiva, Genericide, and others. As if artists get word of this behavior, they might take action and punish all of us in the process. His lack of responsibility only worsens his credibility as he constantly blames Spotify for editorial discrepancies and wrongful copyright violations, when in reality, he's breaking Spotify terms of service. In the shoes of Spotify, National Radio isn't a real entity. In reality, it's just some random person who may be in Latin America posing as an official company of some sorts, reposting stuff that he doesn't have permission for on their platform. His fans seem to not understand what copyright infringement is and spread the conspiracy theory that he's too based for Spotify. Maybe, just maybe, if he read the Spotify TOS before thinking of the corpses he was making bank on, he wouldn't have this issue. In conclusion, National Radio, you're not welcome here. If National Radio really did care about the stuff that he uploaded, he would have used all proceeds to help impoverished areas, specifically the ones that his content covers. Hopefully, with the recent takedowns he suffered, Spotify will withhold the funds, presumably with no intentions of ever giving him the money. I hope that with what happened to National Radio happens to other war song posters who don't have the proper copyright. As of now, the only community post that is left on the community tab of National Radio's channel is one where he proposes a documentary on the foreign fighters who fought in Bosnia and Herzegovina during the Yugoslav wars. Now, he does want some help, and I do actually have something that might provide a different perspective of the foreign fighters in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but knowing his track record and his questionable ethics, unfortunately, I'm gonna just have to keep this book to myself. Now, with the holidays coming up, I want to do something very special. I want to give National Radio a time limit. This is his time limit here. Now, with this time limit, he must do 3 things. Not 1 of 3, not 2 of 3, but all 3 things. And they're all as follows. Number 1, prove he hasn't illegally set up a copyright ID for any war song. This, I think, should be the easiest to do. Number 2, show how much he's made from Spotify, including funds that are currently being withheld from Spotify. And number 3, prove the $500 Ukraine donation. Now, with the first 2, he doesn't have to put this in the community tab. He can just email me right here. As for the Ukrainian donation, I want to see it on that community tab, and I want to see picture proof of it. You don't have to show the world what your ID is, or what your PayPal number is, or your routing account or bank account or whatever. You just need to show the proof that you've actually donated to a Ukrainian aid or charity of some sort. And you can't just delete the community post at any time when everything blows over. Keep it up there until the end of time. Those are the 3 conditions. If he does it, I will donate $250 to one of 3 places. Now, my top spot would have to be Velika Kladusha. It's an impoverished region, and its own growth is being stifled by the federal government. I would love to, in some sort of way, help the region grow. Now, I know that $250 is nothing, but at least it's something there. Something to help the town. If there's no real tangible way to actually donate to the city, then my second best choice would be the Middle Eastern Children's Alliance. It's an organization that I'm actually somewhat familiar with. As a matter of fact, they host a store called shoppalestine.org, and I've actually bought a few products from him. One of my favorite products from them, aside from the journal you saw me use in the video, is this small little mini nativity set made from what I remember, an authentic Palestinian olive tree. It's beautiful, it's well crafted, and it's still in my house, ready to be used for this year. And hey, what's a better way to support a country than to actually buy from businesses from there? Now, if that falls through for whatever reason, there is one more place I would love to donate to. As you may know, I'm a Serbian war music channel. I talk about the music, and I also archive from time to time, as you may know. So what better way to show my appreciation than to donate to the Saint Sava Church in San Gabriel. It's actually the most local Serbian Orthodox church, which is not local at all. It's really far. But I would love to show my appreciation and, of course, my tape journey by donating to this church, which back in 2019 had an iconography project. I don't know if it ever went through, and I don't know if they're still accepting donations for that in 2022. But if they are, well, that money's gonna go towards that. Don't worry, if National Radio does not do all 3 of those things, it's still a win-win situation. If National Radio ends up only doing 1 of 3 things, 2 of 3 things, or none of those things, then I will be doubling the money. That's right, I'm going to match the amount that he allegedly donated to Ukraine. $500 to 1 of 3 places I have listed. The ball's in your court, National Radio. It's your move now. Thank you so much for watching, and happy holidays, everyone. Stay safe out there. And remember, archive, archive, archive.